This interview is being conducted for St John Scotland, 75 years of making a difference. My name is Dr Sue Morrison and the respondent is Diana Orr Ewing. This is the 2nd of December 2021 and the interview is taking place in Stranraer. Thank you very much for agreeing to be interviewed for the project, Diana. For the record, would you please confirm your full name?
My name is Diana Orr Ewing.
Thank you. And would you mind giving me your age or just your year of birth?
I was born in 1943.
Thank you very much. Where were you brought up?
Cumbria, across the water.
Where were you brought up? Could you tell me a bit about your background?
Oh yes, I was brought up in a farming community and living in the depths of the country, and we had no mains electricity until 1952 or 3, I can't remember which now. In time for the coronation perhaps we had it, I don't know. Otherwise we made our own up to then, so I'm quite used to having cold weather. Preparing for the winter.
What brought you to Stranraer?
I married a farmer, and so here I am.
How long have you been here?
40 years? I think so.
Quite a long time. You will have seen some changes, I would imagine.
Yes, huge changes. Lots of the small integral communities have disappeared with automation, really.
Any other major changes?
I think access to medicine has improved beyond bounds. Absolutely extraordinary how well served we are now.
Thank you. Would you say that you've seen differences in communications?
I mean, yes, on the technical side of mobile phones, but certainly as far as transport's concerned, the railways disappeared virtually, and there are 2 little carriages that chug in and out. But we used to have a direct line to London if you consider going up to Kilmarnock to catch on to the Glasgow train and then going down to London, and that's all disappeared.
Could I ask, when did you first hear about St John Scotland?
I've come to St John's fundraising things here for many years, yeah.
And where did you hear about the patient transport service?
I think I was just told about it because I ended up requiring to go to Edinburgh for therapy in the winter, and it wasn't feasible to be driven up every time. And so I asked around, and people say this is what's available to you. And I knew about St John's. And in fact, I think somebody actually approached them on my behalf. I don't think I did it directly, so that was good. And also, they used to have vehicles that went about with West Galloway transport services on them. So I have known of them, but I didn't know that I was going to need it or to go to Edinburgh for 4 weeks on the trot.
May I ask when that was?
March this year, yeah.
Quite recent then?
Yeah.
Could you describe the service that you had for those journeys?
Oh, it was absolutely wonderful. They came and met me, collected me at home, collected my bags, were really good on the journey. You didn't have to chat all the time. They had great empathy as to know when you were ready to have a chat or when you weren't, and delivered me in Edinburgh and picked me up at the end of my month's treatment and brought me home.
What would you have done had there not been such a service?
I think that in normal time, you have to remember this is the height of COVID, and the health service then, before that, used to have a bus that you went and met at Dumfries, I think, and then everybody from Dumfries and Galloway is taken up together to Edinburgh, and you stayed in a hostel or hotel or whatever, or accommodation actually in the Western General. And then that obviously had to change, and they were using a taxi service.
Do you know if patients had to pay for the taxis?
No. It was all paid for by the health service. Wonderful, isn't it? Yeah.
It is, because the cost would have been prohibitive for a lot of people.
Absolutely huge, beyond measure. So yes, and because of COVID, of course, every single patient had to go up in an individual vehicle. So it's been a very, very costly time for the health service. So St John's were kind enough to take me to my journeys, which saved the health service money, which I think they're very grateful for every penny they can get at the moment. So I, for one, am very grateful to St John's because I feel the health service benefited as well.
What would you say to anyone else possibly in the need of transport?
Oh, definitely ask around and definitely ask St John's.
You mentioned that someone else contacted St John's on your behalf.
Yes.
You think. Do you think that St John's are widely known in this area?
Personally, I think it's like every charity. It'll be well known in a certain sector of people who are interested in what they do, the Eye Hospital in Jerusalem and all that. But for other people who've never needed transport, that sort of thing, it's probably totally unknown.
What do you think St John's Scotland could do to improve their public profile?
I'm sure that if people like me who have benefited from them had, I don't know, leaflets or something or a little card they could hand to people and say, you know, if you or any of your friends find out that you need transport or this, that and the other to go to hospital appointments, you know, try St John's.
That's a good idea. Very good.
I mean, I was lucky that I knew that a neighbour not very far away drove for them, but I didn't know if he was still driving for them, this sort of thing, so I had to find all that out.
You mentioned that the drivers were quite empathetic.
Yeah.
Could you tell me a little about what you discussed on the journey?
I think whether it was topical things or looking at the countryside in general and how things had changed, and the roads from here to Edinburgh have changed greatly, speed of other traffic, the lack of traffic because of COVID, very general things, yeah.
Did that help to take your mind off your treatments?
I think so, I'm sure it does. I think that's the whole secret really of all these similar services, is that, I don't know, I look upon life as a sort of mosaic, and some of the tiles shine brightly and you realise that they spread out into the darker tiles round about and lighten up whatever's happening to you in life. So yes.
That's very good philosophy. What do you know about the Order of St John, if anything?
Pathetically little, actually, I have to say. Have had one or two lectures on it, and I do know the Order of St John is very far spread, and it relies totally, I think, on donations from the public, and so it is a charity in the true sense of the word, and it does do very good work abroad. I mentioned the eye clinics in Jerusalem, and I dare say they've got them elsewhere, I don't know.
Have you been to any fundraising events for St John's Scotland?
Yes, I have, yeah. Mm.
Could you talk me through those, please?
The ones I used to go to were held in the big hotel in Stranraer called North West Castle, and they had a room there, and it used to be an evening event with nibbles and coffee, or maybe something stronger, I don't remember, and Christmas cards and all the sort of things you would need. I think they were always just at the beginning of winter, probably, yes. And they were extremely friendly, and people could take their friends along, and, you know, I think that's how they relied on pushing out the word, probably. But even the car that takes you up there, it doesn't actually, or does it say St John's on it? It probably does, actually, I've forgotten that. It probably was on it. And but people wouldn't know what St John's meant.
No.
Because the confusion around here is this church is called St John's. And I, of all people, ran into that because I wanted to give a donation to St John's for transporting me, and I rang up somebody and said, can you give me the phone number of the current treasurer of St John's? And they gave me the treasurer for this church, who thought I'd gone absolutely barking when I said, I want to give you some money for my journey. That's how.
It
is
confusing.
So that every village town has got a St John's church.
Yeah.
So I do think they need to say St John's of Jerusalem or St John's.
Diana, I think that's all of my questions. Is there anything that you would like to add?
I'd just like to say how very grateful we are and I shall be telling everybody about this wonderful service in Stranraer, and I will pass the word far and wide. And I think anybody who needs hospital transport should always remember St John's of Jerusalem and find out if they are in their local locality, and if not, they have a head office in Edinburgh, and so that presumably can be found on the wonderful World Wide Web.
Thank you very much, Diana. It's been lovely speaking with you.
Awful.
Oh, that was lovely.